looks like we have a voicemail message coming in. This comes from Christian Cars in Belgrade.
Dear Scott, Jeff and Tori, thank you for your fantastic podcast. This is Christian in Serbia. My question is not pleasant at all, but I need to ask it. Very often, when I refer to you as an authority, your critics respond that you are a convicted sex offender serving time from March 2012 to September 2014. How do you suggest that I answer questions about your credibility? How should we answer your critics? What have you learned from your conviction? What does Marina say about this? And Scott, I am a big fan. If you come to Belgrade, I'll treat you for a fantastic, you and Marina, for a fantastic lab dinner. Thank you. I hope to see you soon.
Well, thank you for the question. All right.
That's a mixed bag, huh?
I don't mean to smile, but what I'll say is this: if I'm talking about Ukraine and somebody wants to know about something else, if they want to know about my conviction, if they want to know about my golf handicap, if they want to know about whether or not I can sink a hook shot from mid court, and the reason why I'm bringing up these disparate things is they don't matter. They have nothing to do with the analysis I'm doing about Ukraine. So the second someone does that, it tells you that they aren't interested in the analysis. They're doing an ad hominem attack in an effort to shift over and create discomfort to get people to pull away. I'm used to it. What can I say about, I think you put out the dates of March to September. First thing I would say is get your facts right. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying, I was actually in prison from October 2011 until September. So, right off the bat, you don't know anything about what you're talking about. You're Googling. That's very bad to do, by the way. Don't Google. Don't read Wikipedia. None of it's right. And I don't mean to be too disparaging. Let me put it this way. I committed no crime. Flat out statement. So now you want to talk about what I was accused of? I'll just say straight up, it's none of your effing business. None of your business. I didn't commit a crime. Do I pry into your personal life? I was charged with events that had no basis of criminality. This was purely you have to talk to the people that did it about the motivations. I know the motivations of some, it's clear. But the fact of the matter is I committed no crime. They had to manufacture a crime. Literally, I have the documentation that they submitted to the court that proves it. The prosecutor saying we can't convict based upon this because it's insufficient to prove a crime because we can't prove that a crime was committed. What we need to do is manufacture a case, pull in things and fundamentally do something. And we said, you can't do that. And the judge went, no, we'll let them do that. The judge literally allowed them to manufacture a crime. And then we were prohibited from defending ourselves. Exculpatory. I'll give you an example. I don't go into too much detail here, but it's a computer-based crime, right? I mean, that's what I was alleged. Computer-based crime. Why then, when I tried to turn over my computer to the prosecutor to say, here it is, where's the crime? The prosecutor went, oh, we don't want to touch the computer. No. So then we turned the computer, spent a lot of money, turned it over to forensic investigators, and they went through it, and they said, there ain't nothing here. So then we took it to a guy who spent 28 years. He was one of the leaders in the task force against crimes against children. This is the guy that convicts all the bad people. And we said, we want you to go through the computer. And he wrote back and he said, and I've got the letters. I mean, one of these days I'll write a book and it'll all become clear, but I'm not doing that right now because I'm busy talking about Ukraine. But he said, we don't do this. And we said, why don't you do this? And he said, because everybody says they didn't do anything. And then you give us the computer and we find that they did something. And so we're advising you not to do this because once we go through your computer, you're going to have to turn it over to the prosecutor and they're going to nail your ass to the wall. And my lawyer's like, well, Scott, we better not do that. I said, give him the goddamn computer. And he did. The guy came back with a letter. He said, in my entire career, I have never written a letter like this, where somebody gave me a computer, said they didn't do it, and I went through it and found out they didn't do it. And he listed all the things. He said, no, he wrote a big letter. So we were going to bring him in as an expert witness. The prosecution said, no, Judge, you can't allow this to happen. And the judge went, you're right. We're not going to allow the witness. We're not going to allow his statement. We're not going to allow his investigation. Wow. It's a computer crime, but you can't bring in the guy that invested the computer. The prosecution wouldn't. Instead, the prosecution reached out and pulled a sealed file. Sealed. They got it unsealed illegally. They submitted false testimonies, including the document that said, we can't prosecute him unless you unseal this file in New York related to the 2001 incident, which was not found to be criminal. They sealed it for a reason. But you can't unseal it. But they got him to unseal it. We challenged that. The judge said, if you don't want me to allow this evidence in, you're going to have to go to the New York court system and have the New York court system judge whether or not it was sealed or unsealed illegally. We did so. Unanimous decision by the New York Supreme Court said it was done illegally. This stuff should never be allowed into trial. The judge said, screw it, we're allowing it in trial anyways. And but it's not it. What they allowed into trial was only part of the total record. I'll provide a hint that the public's not aware of. I spoke at the detective that arrested. He did a forensic computer thing on my computers. They came and seized my computers, and he came back and wrote about it. And he said, we found nothing on the computers, nothing. That's why I wasn't prosecuted. They said there's nothing on the computers. There's no evidence of crime here at all. That report disappeared, by the way. When they turned over my file to Pennsylvania, that report disappeared. You don't know where it happened. No one knows what happened to that report. But there was a whole bunch of other stuff in there too that disappeared, wasn't there. They said they turned over the total file. They did not. They turned over hand-picked things which, taken out of context, seemed to imply guilt. Imply guilt of what? I was never charged with a crime in New York. The case was dismissed. The file was sealed. That's what you do in cases like this. You seal the file, never to be released. But instead, Pennsylvania got it released, cherry-picked it, brought it into the trial, and they manufactured a case, and I was convicted. I've been appealing it ever since. They told me, I remember going to the pre-trial hours where I'm supposed to be grilled by my lawyers about what's going to happen at the trial, and instead they sat there and they said, Scott, you need to plead guilty. They're going to put 40 years out there. You're going to go to jail for 40 years. I said, I will never plead guilty. They said, 40 years. If you plead guilty to this one charge, they'll give you all parole. You'll never go to prison. I said, innocent men don't plead guilty, especially to the charges that are put out there. I won't do it. We're going to trial. And we did. And they lost. It's a different issue. But I've been appealing it ever since. When I went to prison, tell you what, here's a chance for all you studs out there. You want to see how manly you are? Go to prison on a sex offender charge. Try it. I dare you. You know what they do to sex offenders in prison? They fuck them up. You know what they didn't do to me? Fuck me up. Want to know why? Because the first thing sex offender does in prison is hide. They run away. They tell them, don't talk about your case. Don't do anything. I came into prison and said, read the fucking paperwork. And they all read it and they went, why are you here? I said, that's a good question. The guards even said it. Why the fuck are you here? The warden, why the fuck are you here? None of them could explain it, but I had to be there because I was convicted in a court in a sham trial. You know who picks on sex offender the most? Gangs, Latin Kings, Crips, Bloods. They don't like sex offenders. When you go out into the yard, the gangs own the yard. So what did I do? Went straight up to them. I went and played basketball. You got, oh, well, you played a game. Wow, really? Go play basketball in the fucking prison, dude. Try it. Try and walk on the basketball court. White dude. Walk on a basketball court dominated by Crips and Bloods. It's blood in, blood out, bitch. You go in there and you have to fight your way on the court. You're fighting the entire game. Elbows to the face, knees to the groin. They're biting, they're kicking, and they're testing you. They're seeing what kind of man you are. And if you take it and you give it back to them, then you're allowed on the basketball court. That's the way it works. I did that. I won the respect. Bloods, Crips, the Latin Kings. And then the other thing that happened is because I won their respect, they turned around and they helped a couple of them out with some cases. They'd come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? I got 3 sentences reduced. I got a couple sentences thrown out. I got some new trials on people. By the time I left prison, there was the warden and the administrator at the block I was on had given a pass. People come to my cell to get legal advice. And there'd be a line of people lining up. And the guards were like, what the fuck is going on? We don't understand this. But so there was that. So again, sex offenders don't get treated like that in prison. I was treated like that. And then the last thing is, you can't be paroled. I was given a 5.5 year sentence. I was told by my lawyers that if you don't plead guilty to the crime, you're going to spend all 5.5 years in prison. I was paroled to 3 years. How did that happen, you say? I didn't plead guilty. I didn't plead any. What I did is when I had to take this specific sex offender treatment course, they said, you have to plead guilty to your sex crimes. I said, I committed no sex crime. They said, well, then you'll never graduate. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I brought my entire file in. I threw it on the table. I said, I plead guilty to everything that's in this file. Everything in there, I did. I did it all. None of it's a crime. None of it's a crime. And they sat there and they picked it apart, and they couldn't come up with a fucking crime. This is the guy that's responsible for curing me. And he went, there's no crime. Then he went to the ward and he said, we have to graduate him. He did everything we asked him to do. They said, but did he plead guilty? He said, he's not guilty of anything. He admitted to everything, and none of it's a crime. And I went to the parole board, told them the same thing. They recommended me for parole. You should have seen. I've got the letters. I've got the paperwork. They're writing. They're saying, how the fuck are we paroling this guy? He didn't plead guilty. Why are we letting him go? Why is the warden doing this? He did it because I'm not fucking guilty. So, hey, Christian, there's my short answer for you, buddy. You want to talk about that? I just gave you some ammunition. Talk about it. But do me a favor. If somebody brings it up, tell them to fuck off. Tell them Ritter's talking about Ukraine. Let's talk about Ukraine. If you want to talk about something else, that's your sick problem. To everybody else out there, you want to call me a pedophile? Call it to my face. You won't fucking walk away. Blood in, blood out, bitch. But no, we're not playing that game. You're a keyboard warrior. You want to sit there and type words and chuckle and giggle and all that shit? Fuck off. I apologize, Jeff, but you know, it's just, there it is. I laid it out there. Someday I'll write the book about it. It's a travesty of justice. I've been appealing this nonstop. There's still an appeal in Pennsylvania. If we want to talk about the court process and how that is, we can do that at another time too. But bottom line is, if we're talking about Ukraine, let's talk about Ukraine. And let's not talk about anything else.
Well, as you said, there's a book or a movie or something in all this at some point in the future, but not right now.